Whispers beneath the old oak tree. It was the middle of summer when Claire returned to her hometown after years of living in the city. The small village hadn't changed much. The cobblestone paths still led to the square. The bakery still filled the air with the smell of fresh bread, and the river still glistened under the sun. Yet, there was one place she hadn't dared to visit in a long time: the old oak tree on the hill. That tree had been the heart of her youth. It was where she and Daniel had spent countless afternoons, carving their initials into the bark, laughing at silly dreams, and whispering promises of a future together. But life had pulled them apart. Claire had left for university. Daniel had stayed behind to take care of his family, and the letters they wrote slowly faded into silence. On her second evening back, Claire decided to walk up the hill. The path was quiet, lined with wildflowers, and memories came rushing back with each step. As she reached the oak tree, she paused, her breath catching when she saw the faint carving of C+D still on the bark. Time had weathered it, but it was still there, like a secret waiting to be remembered. "Claire," a voice called softly behind her. She turned, and there he was, Daniel. Older now, with broader shoulders and a few lines around his eyes, but his smile was the same. The sight of him made her heart race the way it used to. "I thought I'd find you here," he said, stepping closer. "I wasn't sure you'd still come here," she whispered. "I never stopped," he replied. "Every time I missed you, I came here. It felt like you were still close." Silence lingered between them, filled with unspoken words. Finally, Claire looked at him, her eyes glistening. "I always wondered if I had stayed, would things have been different?" Daniel's gaze softened. He reached for her hand, hesitant at first, then steady. "Maybe, but what matters is that you're here now." They sat beneath the oak tree, the summer breeze carrying the scent of grass and river water. Slowly, the years of distance melted away as they talked about the lives they had lived, the roads they had taken, and the moments they had lost. Yet, within those conversations, they also discovered something that had never changed. The love they once shared was still alive, waiting patiently beneath the surface. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of gold and crimson, Daniel whispered, "Do you remember the promise we made here?" Claire smiled faintly. "That we'd always find our way back to each other." He nodded. "I think we finally did." In that moment, as their hands intertwined beneath the oak tree, the years apart no longer mattered. What mattered was that they had found each other again. Two hearts, still beating in rhythm, still bound by the whispers of a promise made long ago. And as night fell gently over the hill, Claire knew that this time, she wasn't going to let go. Beneath the golden horizon, Alina had always loved the sea. Living in a small coastal town, she spent countless evenings sitting on the pier, sketching the horizon as the sun sank into the waves. For her, the sea was a companion, endless, patient, and forgiving. One evening, while she was sketching, a stranger approached. He was tall, with windswept hair and a gentle smile. "You capture it well," he said, pointing at her sketchbook. "But you forgot the sound of the waves." She looked up, surprised. "You can't draw sound." He laughed softly. "No, but you can feel it." His name was Adrian, a traveler who had recently returned to the town where his grandmother once lived. He had stories of faraway places, mountains that touched the clouds, markets filled with colors and music, nights under foreign stars. Alina listened with fascination, her pencil forgotten in her hand. Days turned into weeks, and their paths kept crossing. He began joining her at the pier, bringing her cups of tea from the small cafe nearby. Sometimes they sat in silence, watching the sky shift from gold to crimson. Other times they talked endlessly, as if they had known each other for years. Adrian saw in Alina something he had long forgotten in his wandering, a sense of belonging. And Alina, who had always believed her life was too small, too quiet, found herself dreaming bigger when he was around. One evening, as the summer festival lit the town with lanterns, Adrian asked her to dance. The square was filled with laughter and music, but for Alina, the world narrowed to the warmth of his hand on hers, the steadiness of his gaze. "You make this place feel like home," he whispered as they moved with the music. She smiled. "But you've seen the world. Aren't you afraid of staying in one place?" He shook his head. "Not if the reason to stay is you." The words lingered in her heart long after the festival ended. But love is rarely without trials. Adrian received an offer to join an expedition abroad, a rare opportunity he had dreamed of for years. When he told Alina, she felt her chest tighten. She wanted him to stay, but she couldn't ask him to give up his dream. "I don't want to lose you," she admitted, tears in her eyes. "You won't," he promised, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "No matter where I go, my heart will always return here, to you." He left with the dawn, the horizon swallowing his ship. For months, Alina waited. She filled her days with painting, her nights with writing letters she wasn't sure he would ever read. Yet she never stopped going to the pier, sketchbook in hand, staring at the horizon as if it would bring him back. Then one evening, just as the sun melted into the sea, she heard footsteps behind her. A familiar voice teased, "You still forgot to draw the sound." Alina turned, her heart racing. There he was, Adrian, standing with the same gentle smile, holding a worn satchel and eyes that spoke of countless journeys. She ran to him, and when his arms wrapped around her, the months of waiting, the distance, the doubts, all dissolved like foam on the waves. "I kept my promise," he whispered. "I found my way back to you." And beneath the golden horizon, where the sea and sky met, Alina realized that love, like the tide, always returns home. One who found inspiration in the shifting colors of dawn. She told him she was a teacher, someone who believed every child had a story worth living. The bridge became their secret world. It was where laughter echoed in the cool morning air, where shy glances slowly grew into lingering ones. Claire noticed how his hands were often speckled with paint, how his eyes seemed to hold entire schemes within them. Daniel, in turn, discovered the way her voice softened when she spoke about her students, how she always carried a book in her bag, its pages warm. Weeks passed, then months. Seasons changed, yet the bridge remained their constant meeting place. One autumn morning, as leaves drifted down like golden confetti, Daniel brought a canvas. He revealed a painting of the bridge, the river, and the sunrise. But what struck Claire most was the figure he had placed at the heart of it, a woman standing at the edge, bathed in light. "It's you," he said quietly, almost afraid. Her heart raced. Words caught in her throat, but her eyes spoke for her. She felt seen, cherished in a way she had never known. That was the moment Claire realized. She had fallen in love with him. But love, like the river, is not always still. Daniel confessed that he had been offered a residency abroad, a chance to showcase his art in Paris. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, yet it meant leaving. Claire's chest tightened. She wanted to ask him to stay, but she couldn't tether his dreams. She only said, "Go, paint the world, I'll be here." The morning he left, the bridge felt unbearably empty. Yet Claire still returned, every dawn, as though the memory of him lingered in the air. Months stretched on. Letters arrived from Paris, long, thoughtful letters filled with stories of crowded cafes, rainy evenings by the Seine, and the ache of missing her. Claire wrote back faithfully, her words carrying pieces of home across the ocean. And then, one spring morning, when cherry blossoms danced above the river, she saw a familiar figure standing at the bridge. For a heartbeat, she thought it was a dream. But when he turned and smiled, she knew it was real. Daniel had come back. "I realized," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "Every painting, every city, every moment felt incomplete without you. My greatest masterpiece isn't on a canvas. It's the life I want to build with you." Claire's tears spilled as she stepped into his arms. The bridge, their bridge, had brought them together once more. And as the sun rose, brighter than ever, she knew this was not the end of their